phone. All right, the phone is sorted. Hi all, thank you. A great pleasure to be here, and I appreciate very much the opportunity to talk a little bit about some next steps. So we are really at a very exciting moment here in South Florida. The Regional Climate Action Plan has come into sharp focus. It is working its way rapidly through the political process. We are seeing adoption at the local government level. And now we turn to the very critical task of implementation. So developing a climate action plan has become, in many respects, de rigueur at the local government level over the last 20 years. I did say 30 years in some instances. But many of those plans don't actually survive the planning process. Many, I've written a few in my own career that are sitting in recycling bins at the moment. The promise of the Regional Climate Action Plan, as it has been developed, is in no small part due to the incredible social capital that has developed over time within the region, particularly with the compact partners that have come together. I must confess that in my former life I was in state government for a number of years and observed the region from the perch of Tallahassee and was a little skeptical at the beginning that this region could work well and effectively together across local government lines. It has certainly, I think, become not only a shining light in the state of Florida at the appropriate level of activity, but as Nicole indicated, it really is a leading model around the country. I have the opportunity in my job to work with many local governments across the country, and the South Florida Regional Climate Compact really is an example that many people point to. In addition to the benefits that Nicole outlined, one must consider, I think, the kind of, particularly given the geography of the political geography of the region, the cheek-by-jowl nature of municipalities within the region. There are a whole set of issues that individual jurisdictions, cities, and counties can do at their level of governance to make decisions that can reduce their emissions or that can improve the resilience of their local assets to climate impacts. But there's a whole other set of issues that cannot be effectively addressed at that local level. Trying to do so results not only in the kind of chaotic planning outcomes that Andreas just described, but it also creates opportunities for these kind of beggar-thy-neighbor outcomes in which coastal adaptation in particular, other kinds of adaptation strategies can harden your little part of the world but cause problems in adjacent areas. So the process has come together. The politics have aligned exceedingly well. The leadership demonstrated by not only the core staff who have been invested so heavily in the process, but a wide number of stakeholders who have turned out engaged in the development of the Regional Climate Action Plan, which in fact was 18 months in the making and its full development. And over that course of time, it really, in many respects, has become right. So, on the strength of the effort shown to date, Kresge Foundation made a grant which was announced at the summit in Jupiter last December, this past year, just a month ago, in which we were able to announce some resources to move forward into the implementation planning phase. So moving from planning to implementation, in many respects, is a real challenge. As I talked about, the opportunities, in many respects, there are things that can be done relatively short term. There are things that will take time to do in a more robust fashion. But the compact is built in some degree, almost like a flip side of the subsidiarity chart that Andreas showed previously, which I liked quite a bit. It respects that the actual implementation pathways happen within individual jurisdictions, but that there's opportunities to coordinate those. So there are planning processes and decision-making processes that happen at the individual city and county level in which infrastructure, capital improvement plans, land use plans, emergency management, response plans, any number of different local plans in which local jurisdictions have those opportunities one of the first things that the compact will attempt to do is to begin to reach out to enable folk working on these individual planning processes to begin to effectively incorporate climate change issues into the decision-making process. So specific guidance around some of the issues that we'll do. And so that will be one of the first issues that we'll take up, but over the course of the next 3 years, we will be convening a series of events for decision makers across the region to come together to actually flesh out the interstitial tissue needed to take the recommendations. There's 106 of them in the Regional Climate Action Plan. A select few of those that are perhaps most ripe for implementation, and begin to develop the plans for the actual steps that will enable us to move those forward. The grant will enable us, in addition to doing that level of technical engagement with the folk who are going to be kind of boots on the ground making individual recommendations tangible, will be a fairly extensive public outreach and engagement, continuing the conversation, continuing the engagement, bringing views back into the compact process, informing the activities as they move forward, moving from the high-level conceptual plan recommendation to the more concrete methods for implementing the effort. Another primary component will be, within the grant, will be the opportunity to provide resources to do rigorous analysis of the options. So as we come up with options for implementation, a high-level recommendation, an implementation plan that unfolds from that, within that will be opportunities or options for how we would do different things at the local level. We'll have the opportunity to do the rigorous analysis in terms of cost-benefit, tangible, financial, non-tangible, and how those comport. And then finally, the idea of adaptive management is very tightly coupled with the implementation process. The Regional Climate Action Plan itself is a 5-year plan, so it's meant to have a shelf life of 5 years in terms of guiding decisions. We, as a species, have never adapted to something like we are about to see over the next century. We have much to learn. We're going to make mistakes, and we recognize that. But some of the mistakes and what we learn from those mistakes, I think, are as valuable as some of the successes that we'll no doubt enjoy as well. We have to learn. I think at the heart of becoming a more resilient, adaptive culture is becoming one that's well attuned to learning. So we will be instituting within the implementation process a very rigorous and transparent monitoring and evaluation process so that we can document what we've learned. We can share what we are learning and learn from our mistakes most rigorously. 5 years hence, a process will begin anew for developing the next iteration of the Regional Climate Action Plan. And it is our great hope that 5 years hence, what we've learned over the course of the implementation over the next 3 to 5 years will in large measure inform what we do during that time. The opportunity to work within the broader context of 750, as Nicole's really nice nested a chart in the last presentation shows, is really quite nice in terms of the width and breadth of the issues in which we can begin to locate. So the 50-year plan is quite rightly titled a prosperity plan, and we believe in full measure that the decision that the region has made to fully engage climate change as part of its method or means of really beginning to price the risk that we face is a critical component to driving the prosperity that we seek. Many have argued that by raising the vulnerabilities of the region, we are not doing ourselves a favor. Other folk know that we're vulnerable too. It's not hard to see that vulnerability. But regions and cities and locations that are actively taking this issue on are able to demonstrate that they are taking active steps to mitigate the risks associated with these issues and can, in fact, have a much more constructive conversation with those that we would seek to attract, whose investment we would seek to attract into the region. So with that, I'll cede the floor to Nancy, who is going to talk a little bit more. Thank you.